Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome back to the show. As you know, there's always a lot happening in this here sports world. So we got to talk about that. Chiefs, for example, they're making some space to secure that legacy. That's very important. And then, of course, there's some other fun shakeups in free agency. Sam Darnold, for example, has a home. And it's an improvement, but I'm not too bullish on the Seahawks season, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, and then we got to talk about a big fight that happened this past week, and I got to give you my official reaction to the Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev UFC 313 debacle. But first, okay, have you seen that video of the high school sprinter? You know, the one who was running the 4x4 and allegedly hit her opponent in the back of the head with the baton? I mean, she really, yeah, cock that arm back and just whop. Yeah, crazy. And we got to kick the top 5 off with this one because, I'm going to give you my reaction. But first, a little background for those of you who haven't seen the video. Maybe you don't know the story. So all of this happened last week at the Virginia High School League Class 3 State Indoor Championships at Liberty University. It was Alayla Everett, a senior at IC Norcom. She's running the second leg for the girls' 4x200 meter relay. In this video, I'm going to play it for y'all on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, come check it out, okay? You see her with the baton, okay? And it's finding its way across the head of another runner. That runner is Kaylin Tucker, who's a junior from a whole different school, okay? Both runners were battling for second place coming out of the turn, and that's when Tucker, okay, says Everett, who's the accused here, kept bumping her in her arm, and when they got off the curve, she says she passed her, and that's when Alayla Everett hit her with that baton. And those are words, once again, coming from the victim. The victim then is seen in the video grabbing her head. Oh my God, what just happened to me? Getting off the track, falling to the ground, insane. Okay, now once again, it's Everett who's accused of hitting this runner, and I hate to even say the word accused because it's like, it's on camera, okay? Caught you in 4K, well, maybe 1080 HD in this case. And here's the thing, she's speaking out now in a really emotional interview, and here's what she had to say. I mean, yeah, she got really emotional, okay? Saying it was an accident, she was off balance. I mean, there's even a video of her actually demonstrating how something like this could happen with some people that are her family or her team or something like that. It's like, bro, what is going on? As she continues talking in the media, it just somehow gets worse and worse.
I was literally hitting the baton like this until she got a little ahead and my arm got stuck like this.
Meanwhile, Kaylin Tucker, the girl who was hit, says she suffered a concussion. Okay, very serious stuff there. And Kaylin's parents say that when all of this was going down, that Everett, her family, the coaches from IC Norcom didn't go over to her and say, hey, are you okay? Or even issue an apology.
They kept running and she not stop and check on my daughter. That was the part where I was like, it couldn't have been an accident.
And Kaylin's parents are saying, okay, so if it was a fluke or whatever, I mean, you'd still check up on her. So IC Norcom actually ended up being disqualified from the race, which I think is pretty fair. I mean, Kaylin's family has also filed a protective order against Alayla Everett. I mean, look, in high school, I ran cross country. It's not the same thing as the relay, but look, I've seen a lot of track events and I've never in my life ever seen a maneuver quite like that. Now, don't get me wrong. It's unfortunate that Alayla Everett is getting these death threats and things. I mean, racial slurs never is any of that okay. But can we talk about the victim, the person who actually got hit upside the head with a baton? I mean, at high speed with some force behind it. I mean, she could have been killed. We've seen people killed by less. Talking about a concussion, this is serious. This could have serious repercussions for the rest of her life, potentially. You just never know. Anything with the head is a serious issue, okay? And the way Alayla's arm was cocked back, you know what I mean? And her running, I mean, it was weird. You're watching the video, so her arm's cocked back, and then she hits her, and then she does another motion to try to make it look natural. It looks like she performs it a couple more times, and it's like that doesn't even look like a natural running, holding the baton motion. And if you go on Twitter or any online site, there are other people who actually have run relays, and they're saying, like, I've never seen this maneuver in my life. This is totally unnatural. This makes no sense. And it really doesn't bode well to me that in a sportsman atmosphere, Alayla didn't even apologize to the girl that she so-called accidentally struck with her baton. That's poor sportsmanship all around for that. And I think that's why she's getting these visceral reactions, because it's like, if you accidentally hit somebody with a baton, it's like, oh my God, are you okay? Or, okay, so you're so focused on the race, then how about once you're done, come back and say, oh my God, are you all right? I mean, when I was running cross country, when everybody takes off, it's like a pack, right? And you guys are neck and neck until everybody starts breaking off with their strides. But it's like things can get really packed together. You're brushing up against people. I mean, you're touching other people. They're all up against you and stuff. And so my thing is like, okay, so if you accidentally trip somebody, I'd make sure later on in the race to be like, hey, I'm so sorry about that. That never happened, by the way. But I'm just saying, if something outlandish that really compromised the performance of another athlete, I think it's on you. The onus is on you, on your school, to say, hey, we're sorry, man. That's not fair. We're sorry that that happened if it was an accident, right? So, personally, I don't believe her story. Okay. And even though you're technically a kid, you're old enough to know better than that. And, we see her tears, and I can only imagine the tears that Kaylin cried getting hit like that over the head. I mean, you work so hard to position yourself in those competitive environments. You might think that I'm being hyperbolic by saying this, but I'm like, that girl could have died. Who knows? Hits like that can trigger a seizure. You don't know what could happen. You know what I mean? Being hit like that, it's shameful, just shameful activities. So that's my take. I'm not buying that story. It just looks really outlandish to me. And if you did that and it was an accident, why not say anything after the race? Why is Kaylin having this story of like, you guys didn't even attempt to check on me, make sure I'm okay? And that's what people like to see in that sports kind of environment, if it was truly an accident, right? But anyway, let's move on to a situation where hitting people upside the head is perfectly okay. All right, yeah, we're talking about MMA, and I got to give my reaction to the main event at UFC 313 this past Saturday. Alex Pereira lost his light heavyweight title to Magomed Ankalaev, and as you know, if you watch this show, thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching this matchup closely now and giving my predictions, and although I was hoping Pereira would win and continue the hype behind Chama and all of that, I really wasn't surprised at the outcome. I mean, Pereira is still a fearsome opponent with real knockout power. There's no denying that. And I was correct in my prediction that his takedown defense would be something he and his team would have locked in against Ankalaev, therefore neutralizing that dimension of Ank's game. But Ank just did more. And he even caught Pereira with a combination that could have become a knockout if Ank just was a bit more explosive and he had a little bit more time. Okay, there was like 2 seconds left, and that saved Pereira because he definitely got shook up by that hit. I mean, Pereira, he looked shocked. I mean, from that moment, I felt like Pereira decided to like play it a little bit safer. He wasn't letting his hands loose. And so then he lost on points. End of story. Now, Ankalaev, okay, first of all, let me say, has always been the more well-rounded and experienced fighter. Ankalaev now, with this win against Pereira, has 21 wins, 1 loss, and 1 no contest, whereas Pereira's 12-3. Okay, but he was on a 5-fight win streak. Okay, and he was the first person to beat Adesanya in the middleweight division, period, and he did it by TKO, and that was a huge deal because this was, back in 2022, like I said, nobody was beating Adesanya. He was untouchable, but then Adesanya eventually reclaimed that victory, sealed the saga at 2 matches. He's like, I've had enough of Pereira. I'm not fighting him again. And it's interesting because, Adesanya talked about this. He, first of all, predicted that Pereira was going to win by knockout, and since the fight and how it panned out, he said, hey, I actually had Pereira winning in the scorecards, and I'm just like, I don't know about that. He says maybe he needed to watch it again, but for me, being there in person, I mean, like I said, Alex didn't let his hands go. I mean, there were it just seemed like Ankalaev was stepping on the gas throughout the fight, and I'm telling you, that round 2 shakeup where if there was a little bit more time left, I mean, I could have seen Pereira definitely going down and not getting back up. Or that would absolutely be enough to seal the deal and not leave any question whatsoever. But I think for the most part, people accept that Pereira lost fair and square. Ankalaev was the aggressor, and I think what was really notable, and you have to give him credit for, is that he was able to withstand the damage from Pereira, and he deserves credit for that because Pereira did land. But it was when, like I said, Ankalaev landed that combination in the second round. I mean, I really just feel like that sealed the fate of the fight and kind of shook Pereira up. So it's going to be interesting to see how he recovers from that. I've talked about how Ankalaev is the more complete fighter in the past, compared to Pereira. Honestly, Pereira kind of reminds me of Francis Ngannou in the way that he has the power, he can defend your takedowns, he has the ability to learn and adjust when it comes to grappling, but he's mainly known as a powerful guy. Now, I do think, to Francis's credit, his grappling is way better than Pereira's as he's come them to, adapt, but in the beginning, absolutely not. But, I'm going to be honest in terms of where do we go from here? If Pereira was to go up to heavyweight, who's going to fight Aspinall? He's going to lose. I think he would also lose in a Cyril Gane type fashion to somebody like John Jones. And just for giggles, I will say that if Francis Ngannou was still fighting at heavyweight in the UFC, Francis would beat Pereira too. Now, those are my takes. I'd love to hear your guys' in the comment section. So talk with me. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get to some football now. And the Chiefs have restructured Mahomes and Chris Jones's deals to free up basically $50 million in salary cap space, according to ESPN, which is a huge deal. And I called in on restructuring Mahomes, and I thought it'd be a good idea to restructure Chris Jones's, but I wasn't sure if they'd go that far, but they did. So now they're able to secure some key players like former Niners running back Elijah Mitchell, CB Christian Fulton, offensive tackle Jalen Moore, to get them to officially join the squad. They've got the space for it now, the money. Now, Elijah Mitchell, okay, let me talk about him because Chiefs definitely need a solid running back this season. Don't have one in Isaiah Pacheco after injury, unfortunately. And Kareem Hunt, he's good at third and down, but he's not like somebody who's going to be that bell cow that's really just racking up the yardage on the field. Like, that's just not going to happen. Kareem Hunt can get you into the end zone 4th and 1, but if you're needing to pick up 5 yards here, 5 yards there, I don't think he's that guy. Now, look, Elijah Mitchell, he hasn't done much these past couple of years after a series of injuries, okay? He didn't even play last year because of a hamstring injury. He was on IR, and his last standout season was 2021, and that was his rookie season when he rushed for 963 yards, 5 touchdowns in 11 games. Didn't even play the full season. Okay, now in his most recent season played in 2023, he rushed for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns in 11 games played. Once again, not a full season. He had knee strains, injuries that cost him games. I mean, the Chiefs like him because he's speedy. I mean, if we take things back to 2021, back in the combine, he ran his 40 with the 4.38. I mean, he's got potential. He proved it his rookie season. But the thing is, can Elijah Mitchell remain injury-free and have a breakout comeback season in 2025? Because the Chiefs need a ground game. And like I said, Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, not enough. Is Elijah Mitchell the answer for the Chiefs' run game? I mean, in this 1 year, $3.5 million deal, we'll find out soon enough. And that's why they were able to get him cheap. Okay, but honestly, no clue. I mean, this is an injury-prone player, and we already saw what happened with Isaiah Pacheco. We were all just waiting. I know I was. I'm like, oh, when Pacheco gets back. Oh, when Pacheco gets back. And Pacheco wasn't looking like Pacheco. Okay? I mean, I want Elijah Mitchell to be great. But we even saw with C-Mac, with the 49ers, and how when he came back from injury, it's like, oh, he's not looking, and then just gets injured right then again. It's serious, I mean, these guys put their bodies on the line for this game that we all enjoy, and the consequences can be very costly. Okay, for your future. So, we will see what happens, although I was just hoping they'd pick up somebody, I don't know, just a little bit flashier. But if Elijah can get it out of the mud, I'm always here for a comeback story. I love that. I love the grit of those kinds of stories. But all of this just feels a bit like a gamble. I know online some people were comparing Elijah Mitchell to a lottery ticket. Like, you just don't know. I mean, it could be this really awesome injury redemption storyline. But I guess we'll see. Now, the offensive line is going to be key, okay? As we saw against the Eagles at Super Bowl 59, it'll go down in history. Our O-line just completely folded like a bunch of cards. Okay, now here's the thing. There's some excitement, right, with the latest pickup with the offensive tackle Jalen Moore. He also came from the Niners. And a lot of Niners fans are mad. They're like, oh, are we just the farm team for the Chiefs now? That's going to be the excuse. The only reason you guys won is because you have 2 members of our team. Whatever. But Jalen Moore, I mean, this is going to be an interesting one to watch. He's only started 12 regular season games his whole career. He's been playing behind All-Pro Trent Williams in his 4 seasons with the Niners. I mean, he's allowed 1 sack, 10 pressures, and 271 offensive snaps, including 159 pass block snaps. That's according to Pro Football Focus, so that's pretty good. The Chiefs picked him up for a 2-year, $30 million deal. This isn't a guy, as I just said, who started many games, but he looks to have some real potential. He's got some seasoning on him. Let's just, see what happens. And, maybe it's time for him to get some more time on the field. I mean, left tackle is something that the Chiefs cannot take lightly. I mean, it literally cost us the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you got to protect Mahomes' blind side. Is Jalen going to be the one to be able to do it? Hopefully so. I mean, he's 27 years old. Now's his time. I mean, Chiefs are giving a lot of people a shot here, and it's interesting to me because it's like I would love that kind of like superstar tackle, but we don't. 50 million's a lot, but it may not be enough to attract some of those kinds of guys. I don't know, when you've got so many different needs. So hopefully the 27-year-old can get the job done. Now, around the NFL, lots more interesting things happening, and it looks like Sam Darnold will be Seattle's man. He's going to be QB1 for the Seahawks in a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. Geno Smith is off to the dark side, reuniting with his old coach Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, which is pretty exciting for the Raiders. But back to Darnold. I'm happy for him. Okay, let me just first and foremost say that. We begin with positivity. But I have to say, after what I saw with the Vikings, I just don't believe that he's the guy that's taking any team to the promised land. Okay, let alone an NFC championship game. All right? That's just looking at Sam Darnold himself. And I was on the Vikings hype train. I really wanted to see JJ and JJ. That was my JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson connection, which I guess we're going to be getting in 2025, 2026. I'm excited for that. But then I saw Sam Darnold. Like I said, I'm a sucker for that redemption arc. I want to believe, like, you guys didn't believe in me. Now I'm getting this second chance, third chance, fourth chance. Is this his fifth chance now, Sam Darnold? I love you that he's getting a fair shake. He's getting a lot of chances, more than a lot of people did. But this last year, I think he earned one. But it collapsed in the end, okay? Postseason wasn't looking too pretty. I mean, it's not fair to blame the Vikings' playoff run being cut short solely on him, because the O-line probably could have stopped him from being sacked 9 times in that 27-9 wild card game against the Rams. The Rams just have the Vikings number. But some of that was on Darnold, okay? Absolutely on Darnold, not even up for question. He folded under pressure. He couldn't make plays fast enough. And yes, the Rams defense is hell, but this is what separates the best from the best. And some of it falls on Darnold. I'm sorry. It's just honest. And he had time in that game, in that wild card game, to execute a decision, but he held it and got sacked. And this was the moment a lot of those Sour Patch Jets fans were waiting for, because they would be damned if Sam Darnold was the man for the Vikings and not for them all those years back in New York, okay? So this was the Sam Darnold that they were used to, that was seeing ghosts. This is the Sam Darnold they all came to know in his first 3 seasons, like I said, with the Jets. So look, if this is true of Sam Darnold, and now he's with the Seahawks, who had one of the worst ranked offensive lines, the highest amount of pressures that were their fault in the league. I mean, they ranked 31st out of 32 teams. In free agency, the Seahawks missed out on the Colts guard that they were rumored to be targeting. That was Will Fries. Their left guard, Tomlinson, he was picked up by the Texans. I mean, he wasn't really like a top-of-the-line starter, but, it's one less guy. Okay. The Seahawks have picked ex-Ravens O-lineman Josh Jones, but, he isn't really a game changer according to his resume. So how will Seattle go about protecting Sam Darnold? And he's absolutely a guy that's going to need some protecting. It absolutely has to be a priority. And then if we look at the offensive weapons that Darnold has, DK Metcalf traded to the Steelers. Darnold's going to need some targets. They got to lock down some wide receivers. But all this to say, I am not sold on what Seattle is selling at this point. Okay? Fool me once, Sam Darnold. You're never going to fool me again. But anyway, okay, looking at the Ravens, who just picked up wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Look, I'm not surprised the Chiefs let D-Hop go. All right, let me just say that. And I've been saying that because I'm like, where's the utilization, And I know a lot of people were really excited at the prospect of seeing a premier vet receiver on the Chiefs roster. Hello, I was, but they just weren't using him, and as I really thought we would have. I have no idea why. I mean, only the Chiefs admin probably do. He caught 41 catches for 437 yards. That's well below what he's known to do. I mean, some of those catches were super clutch, but I mean, this is a guy who can get 1,000+ yards in a season, 10 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. I mean, it was really confusing to see how he was used, but now Baltimore has him. Maybe they'll know what to do with him. And it's a really cool thing because the Ravens have a great offense. I mean, they've got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely. Must I go on? And now D-Hop, Mark Andrews is probably not going to be there. The Ravens coaching staff, they made some excellent decisions last year in reviving their bottom-of-the-barrel pass defense midway through the season. But as every Ravens fan has come to know about the Ravens, it is the Ravens who beat the Ravens in the end. Okay, and that divisional against the Bills, Lamar's turnovers proved costly. And it's so crazy because we all know that Lamar can throw darts in his sleep, both eyes closed, blindfold. probably with both hands behind his back, he could make something happen. But then it's just like you get to the postseason in this. And then, of course, Mark Andrews dropping that pass. It all just proved fatal. And it's like, how do you have the best rushing offense in the league and you fall short like that in the postseason? I mean, come on. Postseason pressure is severe, but I mean, what's it going to take for the Ravens to get over that hump? Maybe some VR training like Jaden Daniels. I don't know. I feel like every quarterback needs to be on VR training if that's what's getting Jaden Daniels to do what he be doing. The Ravens are going to need to stabilize their defense after some departures on the line and secondary to remain real contenders, but will it be enough? Like, that's really the question. I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm happy for them to get D-Hop. Actually, there's this picture that's been going viral. It's from 2020, I think. So 5 years ago. And it's a picture of D-Hop, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry. And it's like, how many touchdowns do you think this trio could get? And it's exciting. It's like, oh, everything's coming to fruition, but I mean, who knows? There's a lot going on. It's still really, really exciting. This has been a really cool offseason so far. I can't even imagine how the draft is going to go. Of course, last episode I was talking a lot about Shedeur Sanders as well. And so you got to check out that episode to just kind of get my take on what's been happening with him and how his draft stock has been dropping because people think he's cocky when I'm like, no, I just think he's a confident young man. I've never seen him be disrespectful to anybody, so it's just really hard to believe this characterization from two random coaches who shall be unnamed, quarterback coaches at that. And it's just like, oh, those narratives that can just really put a poisonous cloud above a kid like that. And I'm just like, I don't think it was deserved. And so we'll see where he ends up landing. But there are some teams who are in need. It would have been cool if the Raiders got him, but I mean, maybe they'll still angle for him. I don't know. But I guess it's really Genty that they're probably going to be going after. I don't know. Those are, just, we'll see. We'll see. Everything's going to come together here shortly. But that is our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you tell me what you're thinking in the comments section. It's always great to hear from you guys. And wherever you're listening, make sure you rate and review the podcast. And I'll see you back here next Thursday for my 40th episode. Wow, 40. I'll see you guys then. Until Thursday. Have a great one. Bye.